Listen up, Bills Mafia. This is the news we've all been waiting for, and it couldn't come at a better time because our franchise quarterback, Josh Allen, is absolutely ready to suit up and dominate against the Carolina Panthers this Sunday. And let me tell you why this is exactly what we need right now after that brutal 2-game skid before the bye week that had some people questioning whether we could still compete for that #1 seed in the AFC. But those doubters are about to get silenced real quick. Josh Allen is not just playing on Sunday. He's coming into this game with a perfect 7 and 0 record following bye weeks. And if there's one thing we know about our QB, it's that he shows up when it matters most. And this Panthers matchup is the perfect opportunity for him to remind the entire NFL why he's one of the most dangerous dual-threat quarterbacks in the game today. The timing of this couldn't be better because after losing back-to-back games against the Patriots and Falcons before the bye, everyone was starting to worry about whether the Bills had lost their edge after that incredible 4-0 start to the season. But here's the thing about championship-caliber teams: they don't panic, they regroup, they refocus, and they come back stronger than ever. And that's exactly what Josh Allen and this Bills team have been doing during this bye week. Allen himself said it was tough going into the week off on a sour note, but he also emphasized that this is a team full of guys who want to do the work and care for each other and are excited for another opportunity this week. And that kind of leadership, that kind of attitude is exactly why this man is our quarterback and why we're gonna turn this thing around starting Sunday in Charlotte. Now let's talk about what makes this matchup so perfect for the Bills to get back on track, because the Panthers are coming in with a respectable 4-3 record, and they're riding high on some momentum themselves. But here's what the national media isn't telling you. The Bills offense is still absolutely elite, leading the entire NFL in net yards per play at 7.9 yards, which is absolutely insane. And Josh Allen has already put up over 3,700 passing yards with 8 touchdowns in this season alone. So while everyone wants to focus on those 2 losses, let's not forget that this offense is still one of the most explosive units in football. And when you've got number 17 under center, you've always got a chance to put up points in bunches. The Panthers defense knows what's coming too, because defensive tackle Derek Brown already admitted that he can see on tape how dangerous Allen is as a runner, especially considering Josh is 6'7" and can get out and make plays with his legs, which opens up this entire offense in ways that most teams simply cannot defend against. What's really exciting about this week is that we're not just getting Josh Allen back at full strength, we're also potentially getting some major reinforcements on the defensive side of the ball, with edge rusher Michael Hocht and defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi both returning from their 6-game suspensions and making their Bills debuts this Sunday, which could be absolutely huge for a defense that's been struggling against the run, ranking 31st in the league, allowing over 156 yards per game on the ground. Now, Larry Ogunjobi was quick to downplay expectations, saying it's just him and Mike coming back trying to help how they can. But don't let that humility fool you, Bills Mafia, because getting 2 experienced players back into the rotation, especially with the Panthers, featuring one of the best rushing attacks in the league right now, ranking 3rd and averaging over 140 yards per game, is massive for this team's ability to get stops when it matters most. Speaking of the Panthers' rushing attack, this is where things get really interesting, because they're coming in hot with their 2-back system featuring Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle. And they've been flirting with using both backs on the field at the same time in what they call a pony package, which could theoretically give the Bills' defense some problems, especially considering our struggles stopping the run this season. But here's where I think the narrative is all wrong, because yes, the Bills have had issues against the run, but this is also a Bills defense that's had key injuries all season long, with linebackers Matt Milano dealing with a pectoral injury and Terrell Bernard nursing an ankle issue, which means guys like Shaq Thompson, who just signed with Buffalo after spending 11 seasons with the Panthers, are going to have an elevated role in this homecoming game. And if there's anyone who knows how to stop Carolina's offensive tendencies, it's a guy who spent over a decade learning that system inside and out under the same defensive coordinator, Sean McDermott, who's now coaching the Bills. The storyline around Shaq Thompson coming back to Carolina is actually perfect for this game, because McDermott has been raving about the impact Thompson has made in the Bills locker room, calling him a winner and saying players can learn from watching how he handles himself both on and off the field, which is exactly the kind of veteran presence you want when you're trying to snap a 2-game losing streak and get back to playing Buffalo Bills football the way we know this team is capable of playing. McDermott has always emphasized culture and leadership, and having Thompson back in Charlotte, knowing every inch of that stadium, and understanding the Panthers personnel is a massive advantage that people aren't talking about enough in the national conversation. But trust me, Bills Mafia, this is the kind of edge that makes all the difference in games like this. Now let's address the elephant in the room, which is the Panthers quarterback situation. Because while Josh Allen is out there, being Josh Allen, the Panthers are dealing with some uncertainty at the position, with Andy Dalton expected to make his 7th start in 3 seasons with Carolina because Bryce Young is hobbled with an ankle sprain after leaving the game against the Jets last week. Dalton is a seasoned veteran with over 39,000 career passing yards and 254 touchdowns, mostly from his days with the Bengals. But here's the reality. He's 1-5 as a starter for the Panthers. And while head coach Dave Canales says he has full confidence in Dalton's ability to keep their offense balanced and aggressive, the fact remains that having a backup quarterback making his 7th start in 3 years is not exactly the formula for beating a Bills team that's desperate to get back into the win column and prove that those 2 losses before the bye were just a momentary setback rather than a sign of deeper issues. The more you look at this matchup, the more you realize this is the perfect storm for the Bills to come out and make a statement, because not only do we have Josh Allen at full health with that perfect post-bye week record on the line, but we're also facing a Panthers team that's going to try to control the clock and keep our offense off the field by leaning heavily on their rushing attack, which means every possession is going to matter. And every time Josh Allen gets the ball, he needs to make it count. The good news is that's exactly what number 17 does best, because even in those losses to New England and Atlanta before the bye, Allen was still putting up impressive numbers and showing why he's one of the most dynamic playmakers in the NFL, capable of making something out of nothing, whether it's with his arm or his legs. And that's the kind of quarterback play that can overcome any defensive struggles or situational disadvantages. What really has me fired up about this game is the sense of urgency that's coming from the entire organization, because McDermott and Allen both know that this is a must-win game, not just for playoff positioning, but for the psyche of this team moving forward, because you can't let a 2-game losing streak turn into 3, especially when you've got games against some of the AFC's best teams coming up later in the season. The Bills started this year 4-0 with everyone talking about Super Bowl aspirations and home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And while those 2 losses certainly hurt, they haven't derailed anything. If this team can get back to playing complementary football, with the offense doing what it does best and the defense getting some key stops when it matters most. Allen said during the week that this team has a lot of work to do, but emphasized that these are guys who want to do that work, which tells you everything you need to know about the mentality in that locker room right now. The beauty of having Josh Allen as your quarterback is that even when things aren't going perfectly, even when the defense is struggling against the run, even when receivers aren't getting separation, you still have a guy who can single-handedly take over a football game and impose his will on the opposition. And that's exactly what we need to see on Sunday in Charlotte. The Panthers' defense is ranked 10th against the pass, allowing just over 200 yards per game through the air, and they haven't allowed anyone to throw for over 300 yards this season. But here's the thing, Josh Allen doesn't need to throw for 300 yards to beat you, because he's also going to gash you for chunks of yardage on the ground with his legs. And that dual threat ability is what makes him so impossible to game plan against, because if you load the box to stop the run, he'll beat you over the top with his arm, and if you drop back into coverage, he'll tuck it and run for a first down or a touchdown. The fact that Allen has already accumulated over 3,700 passing yards with 28 touchdowns this season, while also being one of the team's most effective rushers with multiple games where he's accounted for all of the Bills' touchdowns both through the air and on the ground, just shows you the kind of complete player we're dealing with here. Fantasy analysts are projecting Allen to have a solid game with over 240 passing yards and multiple touchdown passes, plus some rushing production. And while I know we don't care about fantasy football as much as we care about wins, those projections are based on real data and statistical analysis that shows just how favorable this matchup is for our quarterback to go out there and put up big numbers while leading this team back into the win column where we belong. The coaching matchup is also fascinating because you've got Sean McDermott facing his former team, the Panthers, where he served as defensive coordinator before taking over as the Bills head coach. And McDermott knows the Panthers organization inside and out, which gives Buffalo another subtle advantage in terms of preparation and game planning. McDermott has always been a defensive-minded coach who emphasizes physicality and discipline. And while the run defense numbers haven't been great this season, you can bet that he spent this entire bye week working with his defensive staff to shore up those weaknesses and put together a game plan that will neutralize Carolina's rushing attack and force Dalton to beat them through the air, which is exactly where you want to be as a defense facing a backup quarterback. From a pure matchup perspective, everything lines up for the Bills to come out and dominate this game. Because not only do we have the better quarterback by a significant margin, but we also have the better offensive weapons, with guys like Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir and James Cook who can make plays in space. And even though the Panthers have been solid on defense this year, they haven't faced an offense with the kind of explosiveness and versatility that Buffalo brings to the table every single week. The Bills' offense is built around Josh Allen's ability to extend plays and create something out of nothing. And when you combine that with a running game that's starting to find its rhythm and a receiving core that's getting healthier by the week, you've got all the ingredients for a breakout performance that reminds everyone why this team was considered a legitimate Super Bowl contender just a few weeks ago. What I love most about Josh Allen heading into this game is his mindset, because he's not making excuses, he's not pointing fingers. He's simply acknowledging that the team has work to do and expressing confidence that this group has the character and the talent to get it done. And that kind of accountability and leadership is exactly what you want from your franchise quarterback, especially in a situation like this where the team needs to bounce back from adversity. Allen has proven time and time again throughout his career that he's at his best when his back is against the wall, when people start doubting him, when the pressure is highest. And this Sunday in Carolina is another opportunity for him to silence the critics and show everyone that the Bills are still very much in the hunt for that #1 seed in the AFC. The final thing I'll say is that this game represents more than just another regular season matchup. It's a statement game for the Bills organization about who they are and what they're capable of when things get tough, because championship teams don't crumble. After a couple of losses, they dig deep, they rally around their leaders, and they come back stronger than ever. And with Josh Allen leading the way, there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to see exactly that kind of response on Sunday. The Panthers are a good football team. They've got a solid rushing attack and they're playing at home. But when you stack them up against a Buffalo Bills team that's healthy, hungry, and angry after 2 straight losses, especially a Bills team led by the most dynamic quarterback in football, it's hard to see how Carolina keeps pace for 4 quarters. And that's why I'm expecting a dominant performance from start to finish with Josh Allen, putting the entire league on notice that the Bills are back and ready to make a serious playoff run. So Bills Mafia, it's time to get hyped because our quarterback is healthy, our team is rested, and we're about to watch Josh Allen do what he does best, which is take over a football game and lead this team to victory in enemy territory. And when the dust settles on Sunday evening, we're going to be sitting at 5-2 with all the momentum heading into the second half of the season. And all those doubters who thought the Bills were done after 2 losses are going to remember why you never count. Out a team with number 17 under center, because that's our franchise, that's our leader, and that's the guy who's gonna carry us all the way to the promised land this season. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let me know in the comments, Bills Mafia, do you think Josh Allen throws for more touchdowns or rushes for more touchdowns against the Panthers? Option A, more passing touchdowns, or Option B, more rushing touchdowns? Drop your answer below, and let's get this conversation going, because we're about to witness something special on Sunday afternoon.